Homeopathic Remedy of the Month series. If you've been following along with my emails, blog posts, and other videos this month, you know that I'm talking a lot about heat-related illnesses. So, I wanted to bring you information about a remedy that has many uses, but is super useful for heat stroke. This remedy is Glonoinum. Glonoinum is a homeopathically diluted form of nitroglycerin, the medicine used to dilate blood vessels when someone experiences heart-related chest pain. As a side note, if you don't know how homeopathic medicines are made, I highly suggest joining me for an intro to homeopathy class so that you can learn the basics of homeopathic remedy preparation and understand why we can use these types of medicines. I'll link my class in the description below. Now, if you watched my previous video on heat-related illnesses, you know the difference between heat exhaustion and heat stroke is mental changes. Heat stroke is more severe and thus will cause a person to have some pretty severe mental changes, such as dizziness, extreme irritability, seizures, even confusion. Glonoinum is a great remedy to use for these types of symptoms that occur in a heat-related situation. But it can also be used for these symptoms even in the absence of a heat-related situation. That's the beauty of homeopathy. We use similars. So if the other symptoms are similar, but the heat aspect isn't there, you can still use Glonoinum. This remedy is also useful for headaches due to head congestion, especially when there's a pulsating, throbbing, or bursting type of sensation. Usually, these headaches will come on very suddenly, and that is one of the big things to note about Glonoinum. Its symptoms will come on suddenly. Let me give you an example for this. For me, there are times when I may bend over or turn while standing, or even go from sitting to standing, and all of a sudden I feel pressure around like my shoulders that travel up into my head, makes me feel like I'm a balloon being squeezed from the bottom up. My head will throb and it feels like my brain is expanding. It's a very quick onset and it doesn't last very long. This is a great example of when Glonoinum might be helpful for someone. So for me, I use this remedy as a chronic remedy right now because my headache and pressure last for such a short amount of time that I don't really need it at the time of the occurrence. But because it's repetitive, I know I need to address it in a chronic manner. I've also got a few other symptoms that Glonoinum can be useful for, like flashes before the eyes and pulsations in the ears, also known as pulsatile tinnitus. So this is a very good fit for me currently. This is also a really useful remedy for people who get overheated easily and are very sensitive to the sun. I've had numerous clients come to me with this complaint. In each scenario, I've suggested Glonoinum for a short period of time, and in each scenario, this has tremendously improved these issues. People who might need Glonoinum can be worse by being in the sun or hot weather, worse from stooping or bending, worse from stopping the menstrual cycle. So think about menopausal women. And listen to this one. Worse from having the haircut. Weird, right? Well, I like to say to my clients, bring me all the weird stuff. It actually helps me as I choose an appropriate homeopathic remedy for their concerns. It can also be used for strokes, high blood pressure, heart-related chest pain, which is obvious since we know it's the homeopathic version of nitroglycerin, fainting spells, nosebleeds, and any bodily pains that have a throbbing or pulsing sensation. I look back at a really bad cold or flu that I had in December of last year and remember that it wasn't the cough or cold symptoms that were so bad. It was the head pain that was so severe that my husband almost took me into the hospital. I was trying all of my usual and even not usual remedies for me, and nothing was working. I never even thought to try Glonoinum, but looking back, I think it could have helped. The head pain was so severe, there was a lot of congestion, not like sinus congestion, like blood congestion. And what eventually worked well was an ice pack placed at the back of my head where it meets the neck. Better from cold applications is another key aspect to consider for someone needing Glonoinum. Now, going back to menopausal women, this remedy can also be useful for hot flashes and heat flushes. There are others, but if the symptoms of throbbing and blood rushing to the head and worse in the sun or hot weather also fits, then Glonoinum can be considered. So, your takeaway here is that if you see throbbing or pulsating issues that are associated with heat or the sun, this is a really good remedy to consider. But hopefully, you heard some other good indications for use of this remedy today. Thank you for joining me for this remedy of the month, and I will see you next week.